Come to find out, liking traps isn't gay. In fact, many straight men will admit to laying them if it helps alleviate some tension from the stressful day-to-day. But when you let them explode all over you, man, that's pretty gay. In today's humble opinion, we're busting some nuts in Sniper Elite 4. Sniper Elite 4 is not a game that I ever imagined myself playing, but then again I also imagined that it would be some sort of sniping simulator in which they place you in an environment and give you a single chance to assassinate a high priority target without getting caught. Admittedly, I've probably just played way too many Flash games throughout my youth. In actuality, the game is a satisfying blend of action and stealth with varying degrees of difficulty that do in fact turn it into a sniping simulator, though not one quite so simple as a Flash game. More specifically speaking, at the highest level of difficulty that the game offers, the bullet ballistics are at their most realistic. You have to account for external factors such as bullet drop, wind direction, and range, and you don't exactly have the luxury of taking a few experimental shots given that you'd make more than enough noise to bring an entire villa down on your head. And to make those shots count, you'll want to make sure that you've scoped them out, accounted for range, and then try to shoot in such a way that it punctures and ceases the function of an important internal organ so that they die instantly rather than rolling around wailing in pain and drawing attention to themselves and therefore you. As you can probably tell by my name, I didn't make it very far in that game mode, though I did manage to snipe an enemy sniper on stream before being decimated by a German boat that I hadn't anticipated. And honestly, earning that kill was a lot more gratifying than having the indicator that takes the guesswork out of bullet drop for you. But while I enjoyed the tension, I don't have the time to go crawling around through a grueling experience at a snail's pace, especially since every death in that mode means beginning the mission all over again as there are no checkpoints. So I'll have to settle for the watered down but still very enjoyable experience geared more towards action. The game can be played through either alone or with a friend, and I have to say having a friend along for the ride turned the game from something fantastic into something phenomenal. The mechanics were still centered around stealth, but it opened up much more room for different strategies in a game that already offers a seemingly infinite amount of strategies. A particularly fun one that I enjoyed employing was having a friend up in a tower making callouts for enemy movement while I snuck up and tried to dispatch them one by one sneakily. Graphically speaking, the game is spectacular. Literally. Many of your sniper shots are accented with brutal cinematic interludes with viscerally detailed spectacles that would probably demonetize most YouTube videos. But luckily for me, I'm not consistent enough to garner a following large enough to even monetize my videos to begin with. You can help me ruin my life by smashing that subscribe button. I would absolutely hate that. While the quality of the game is superb, from the graphics to the sound design to the realistic physics and right down to the actual game mechanics, there are a couple of things that might put somebody off of it. First and foremost is the fact that since the game has such a focus on realism, the actual story ends up being kind of bland. I mean, it's as interesting as any other World War II inspired game in terms of story, but all of the characters you target are just names and the atrocities they're responsible for committing. There's no tether to you or the main character that makes them especially satisfying to gun down. They're just Nazi number 372 in an endless sea of Nazis. And by Nazi, I mean the legit kind, not the ones that advocate for freedom of speech. Come on, put those bike locks away. There's almost an anti-climax to the end of every level because you spend so much time actually making it to your targets only to pop one in their dome just like every other enemy you encounter. This feeling is somewhat mirrored in the overabundance of DLC in that the most satisfying to snipe in the entire Nazi regime isn't even available in the base game. You gotta pay the troll toll to give Hitler a brain hole. Not only that, but a lot of the weapons are also locked away, and given how little of difference most of the weapons seem to make between one another, it doesn't really come across as a valuable sale. All in all though, I'd say that Sniper Elite 4 is more than deserving of a solid 8 out of 10. To say that the game is good would be an understatement, however it isn't without its issues. The maps are incredibly large, which is to be expected of a game that requires nearly 40 gigabytes of download, and they're intricately detailed both in the visuals themselves and in their overall designs. This grants it seemingly infinite decisions when it comes to how you want to approach its traversal, whether you want to sneak through and attempt to not be seen at all through the use of distractions and misdirection, or you'd like to play a little more loosely using your understanding of the enemy artificial intelligence to do large-scale damage, slip behind cover, and slither away to a different location so you could safely repeat the actions all over again. They also litter the world with collectible letters that somehow manage to make the enemies in this world war seem eerily human by giving them families and struggles. Weird. Between that and the spectacular kill shots, you'd expect that things would never get old. Alas, one of the shortcomings is how repetitive it all starts to feel. While it isn't that big of a deal if you only plan to play in segments, which would give it a more consistent feeling, if you plan on playing through it for a decent chunk of time, you'll start to notice that things become increasingly tedious. Even the kill shots. All enemies are killed in the same ways. All enemies behave in the same ways. Once you have an understanding of how they function, things become a bit more stale. The large maps become a bit more of a slog to maneuver across. Battles become maddeningly predictable. You start feeling a bit impatient, and that translates into silly mistakes that in turn frustrate the player. My recommendation would be to enjoy it slowly over the course of a week or two. Give yourself enough space to soak in the scenery and appreciate the gameplay without oversaturating the experience to the point of boredom. Thank you everyone for watching, and special thanks to Rebellion for putting such a tremendous amount of effort into making this game what it is. Everything from the ballistics to the visuals left me speechless. You might even say that it blew my mind. Until next time, remember that failure is not the worst case scenario to go on with your bad selves and stay awesome.